Dolavina, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. When given the opportunity to speak about tourism, I couldn't pass on the subject matter. I think the challenge was, which aspect of tourism do I talk about? So just looking at the lineup of speakers, I thought I'd anchor it off by talking about our talent, specifically our local talent. The events, I'm sure you've all read in the papers, Momi Bay Marriott Resort and Spa is opening soon, and they've had a myriad of advertisements about senior managers to line-level staff, including expatriates. And speaking to some of the other industry colleagues, almost every other general manager has said they've lost some senior team member to Momi. I'm sure they've all got their knives out. But what it does is it clearly tells us that we have got a shortage of talent in Fiji to support the growth of the industry. So I thought I'd talk about local talent and where we are at. My background, I've been associated with the industry for about 24 years, 6 years as a chartered accountant / auditor. Grew through the ranks in my chartered accountancy profession, but also through the tourism industry. I was very fortunate that my first day as an auditor with a red and a green pen, I turned up at the Sheraton Fiji Resort. And therein started my journey. I worked through the chartered accountancy firm for about 6 years. And then in 1999, which was the best year for the tourism industry at that stage, in that decade, I was given an opportunity to change my office space from that to that. And having been an auditor and looked at all of the glamour that was in the industry, my lunches became that. And I finished the day off with a couple of those, either by the pool bar or in Planters nightclub, those of you know it. So in my current, in the process, in 2000, the events which we all know, the bottom two disappeared very quickly. It became a mode of survival, right? In 2001, I was presented with an opportunity to grow within the company, and I migrated to Australia at the same time, and worked in Australia for about 8 years. At that point in time, I was told I wasn't ready to be the Director of Finance. So goal number one, to be back in Fiji as an expatriate Director of Finance. I was given that opportunity in 2008 to come back and manage the 3 hotels and the golf course. So looking at all the exciting information that we have about our industry, I want just to briefly touch about the state of tourism. Last year we had a record number of arrivals at 792,000. Currently it contributes about 1.5 billion to the economy, or nearly 30% of the GDP. And the pipeline says we've got to build it to 2.2 billion by 2021. It employs about 110,000 people. Simple maths, you need another 30 to 40,000 people to support this growth. The future shows great potential. I can't help but think that we're probably in a situation now where Australia was probably about 30, 40 years ago, or 30, 35 years ago, where a bulk of the senior management were either Trosman-Toffs or Hotters or Ditmars, very European-based origins of general managers. These days, there's a lot of Smiths and Joneses who are general managers in Australia and New Zealand. If you look at our key international chains in Fiji, bulk of them are either Australian and New Zealand general managers or directors of food and beverage. So it shows a lot of potential that's available for our local talent. In the past, we have had that. If you look at our leaders in the past, Mr. Randiki Ngerengere Tambua comes to mind. Dixon Sito comes to mind. So we do have leaders in the past. We have leaders at present, and I'm sure we have a lot more in the future. So I thought I'd talk about the challenges for local talent and the opportunities going forward. The biggest, in terms of the foundation or the floor of our local talent, is our cultural background, our work ethic, and our service delivery. As somebody, I think Deborah mentioned, the certain things were taboo. or Tambu, right? Growing up, whether it's an Indo-Fijian background or Iturkey, I think we were always taught that we were never to question authority, respect our elders, respect the institution. So when we transfer that into our workplace, we just don't ask questions. Even to the point where we don't see eye to eye with our direct managers and ask our questions or convey our viewpoint. And then because of that, we accept that near enough is good enough, when that should not be the case. And then that then transforms into an element of, I guess, being in a comfort zone or complacency, whichever way you want to put it, that we just start to accept, we don't question, we do what we have been told. The whole herd mentality comes in. We have been taught this, and this is it. There's nothing outside the box. We can't do anything different. We can't be more efficient. And hence, that starts to affect our local talents and their growth. And when there are people that tend to go outside of that and actually speak up or want to make a career out of the tourism industry, then we experience petty politics. We drag those who want to prosper down. We start ganging up. We write petitions. We write complaint letters saying this person is not good because they're rocking the boat and trying to move people out of their comfort zone. Work ethics. You know, Fiji is a rugby mad nation, as we all know, right? So whenever there's a Fiji game or a final, absenteeism is quite prevalent, right? So as a leader, you turn up to work and, you know, you see half the staff haven't come because they have had a long session. The timing of the games is such that it's well into the night. A bit of kava, and then we just don't turn up. Australia, having worked there for 8 years, is equally a sporting nation. But if they wanted to watch their sports, they'd plan their days off, and there would be no unplanned absenteeism. Your workforce would be balanced, and you'd know exactly what you needed to do. The other thing that comes into our workplace in Fiji is that deadlines are never really deadlines. Right? When I moved to Australia, I had this, having worked in Fiji for 3 years. You had to follow up. So when I got to Australia and started working, I started following up. My team started looking back at me and saying, what do you think, I don't know how to do this? I'm stupid? Right? So you left them to say, okay, this is the deadline, and voila, the day before you get it. I got burned very severely when I came back. I expected the same. And came the deadline, I said, okay, where's the paper? Where's the report? Oh, bosso, sorry. I haven't started. Right? And I got burned badly because that report was due to my superiors in Singapore. And Allah, follow up, follow up, follow up. The other thing that tends to creep into our Fijian work environment, and I mean that Indo-Fijian and Iturkey as well, is that we tend to default into vernacular language, Hindi or Fijian, even though our mode of communication and education is English. That creates this element of uncertainty with our guests. And I'm still not sure why we do it, when we all can speak and communicate in English very, very well. The other thing in terms of work ethics is our fear of accountability and our fear of responsibility. We just don't want to touch it. It's like a hot potato. I guess it goes back to perhaps tourism was never seen as a career option. Right? As Akanisi said, the parents historically have said, be a doctor, be a pilot, be an accountant. Maybe the tourism industry was just seen as a default where you just found work. It was a job. Which brings me to service delivery. Service delivery, and my biggest challenge, Fiji time. What is it? You know, to me, as a leader in the tourism industry, I see Fiji time as a curtain that we try to hide behind. We hide our inefficiencies, our ineffectiveness. I think that's got to change. as Deborah mentioned, we have guests that come in with expectations. Travel is very affordable, right? So we need to make sure we meet and exceed the expectations of our customers. We cannot have Fiji time. Right? Perhaps the next biggest area is self-development, development of others, and upskilling. I think historically we have had one sole breadwinner in the family. The demands or the obligations to the society, to the family, far outweighed individual aspirations to upskill themselves, educate themselves further. Perhaps that then creates the lack of confidence to pursue their careers within the industry. Then we also have a case of right of promotion versus merit of promotion. Sometimes we come across these situations where such and such needs to be promoted because they've worked in the role for 15 years. There might be someone within the team that has worked for 2, is educated, agile, can do the job better. But we get into that notion of how do we deal with it. And sometimes these individuals, when they are promoted, they get complacent in the comfort zone, and then they create a bottleneck, blocking the path for career development for everybody else. I've done speeches at farewells, and you look at the career, 25 years, 30 years of service, and 80% of that has been in the last role they've held. Again, the fear of failure or the fear of losing their job is sometimes also used or as a platform for failing to develop people underneath them. Cross-exposure and wider experience. I guess if you look at Fiji's tourism industry, we did not have too many multinationals in Fiji. So employment, when you got into a branded hotel, you stayed with it because there was no other option. Humility and team. We also come across situations where it's a self-promotion, social status, a superiority complex. I'm a manager, I don't do work. You do as I tell you to do. Whereas the whole notion of tourism industry is about the team. As a leader, you're only going to be as successful if your team supports you. Right? Jim Collins, in his book Good to Great, when he was researching it and spoke to the CEOs, he established that good leaders had humility and fierce resolve or tenacity. Being open-minded and giving credit to the others encourages teamwork and success. I guess that brings me to evolution of self. Is it a weak or a strong notion in Fiji? Do we look at ourselves and develop, grow our careers, or do we just accept where we are? I think if you look at the whole notion of self-evolution, when we take our Fijians, and again, with respect, Indo-Fijians are okay, and if you take them into a different environment, let's say Australia or New Zealand, they all do very well. And that's my personal experience as well. So why is it in Fiji we start defaulting? We have got local talent who are expatriates in other Pacific countries. Okay? I've just had an assistant engineer that worked with us in Sheraton, in Denarau, went to Samoa, opened 2 hotels, and he's back after 2 years of service, and he's the chief engineer in Momi. So we do have that talent, that ability, that capability. How do we expand it to a wider base? My learnings. As I've said, I'm the first local in my position at the moment. Some of the things that I've learned early in my career: tenacity. Professor Angela Duckworth, in her book, Grit, Power of Passion, Perseverance, finds tenacity is even more important than talent and luck in being successful. You also got to have goals, short, medium, and long term, as Captain alluded to earlier. You've got to have role models and mentors in your career. There's always got to be a beacon of light that you associate yourself to. And the biggest one, in terms of role models, my current area vice president, who looks after 30-odd hotels in Australia, New Zealand, and Pacific, started his career as a butcher in a single hotel. I look up to him. his success, I would love to follow that career path. You also got to challenge status quo. I think we just accept what it is. And I've been told before by one of my managers, if you do what you have always done, you'll get what you always got. So unless you change yourself and challenge it, you will not succeed. Self-development is important. We've got to take grasp of our own careers. I started in finance. I had no ambition to be a hotel manager because the background was I needed to be, per my parents, successful to be an accountant. But when opportunities present, you've got to grab them with both hands. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my personal experiences. Fiji is all about the Fijian people. That is the draw card for our visitors. However, for Fiji to remain a destination of choice, we owe it to our future teenagers and children. As in my teenage children would say, local talent must step up their game. We should all lead the charge, challenge the status quo. At this juncture, I should thank my parents, my wife and my family for their support, and my team's support at my workplace. For without them, I wouldn't be successful. And I leave you with this. I shall leave you with a couple of those quotes. Thank you.